All right, thank you so much for joining us. Now to our final conversation. It is often said that partnerships between public and private sectors are the engines that drive lasting development. The federal government is weighing this option in its desire to give Nigerians stable power supply. The government announced that it needs a $10 billion investment through public-private partnerships over the next decades to achieve 24-hour power supply across the country. According to the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, optimizing the performance of existing infrastructure alongside finding new ones is important for economic stability. He noted that this cannot be achieved by the government alone. Now, so we're talking about power. Despite the huge dollars, chunks of money that we've actually sunk into this, but now they're talking about they need $10 billion in the next 5 to 10 years. Right? What are your thoughts on this, first of all?
Well, I think it's a right step.
Right step?
Yes, because once you have power, if you have power, 24-hour power supply in Nigeria presently, the economy will be, the revenue of the government itself will even increase, either in the state or in the federal government. Because that is when you can now have even a 24-hour business plan, whereby some people work in the morning. You can also see people who say, I'm sleeping in the morning, I'll go and work in the night. You understand? As in, open their business, sure. And then we have that 24-hour economy, completely. Now, for 10 billion, when I saw 10 billion, I was asking myself, is 10 billion okay or all right? Is this something that is that can really give us 24-hour power?
Okay, you think that maybe the 10 billion is not enough?
It's not enough. Because during Obasanjo, are you talking about Obasanjo? Even Buhari's time, 7.5 billion was used for transmission alone. Okay, so if you are now saying 10 billion, I'm not saying you can't source for 10 billion from the private sector. You can do that, but I feel it is. Let's not quote figures, and at the end of the day, we start 2 years after. You now say, because of one thing, we are going to increase it by another 10 billion. Because what Nigerians want is just power supply. So once you tell them you want 10 billion, somebody somewhere can give you that 10 billion. Or some banks can contribute money and give you 10 billion. Do you know if you can't meet up that 10 billion, Nigerians will start accusing you of lying? So the best thing is to make sure that you do your proper visibility studies.
In the sector, is it about money, or is it about corruption? Is it about competence, or are there other issues? There are other issues.
No. It's all combined. Because one, you need to invest in power. What we have now, I'm not sure whether since 1984 or something, or the years back, that we've even had any turnaround in terms of the power sector. It's been long because most of the transmission lines we are using, if not that Buhari even said, okay, let's get the 7.5 billion for us to do the transmission, we didn't have anything. We are still using the old lines of maybe during our Awolowo's time.
Exactly.
You understand? Transformers, nothing is new. They said they were going to give us new meters. There are so many people who have not had meters.
Exactly, true.
Even when they even gave the discos and the gencos money, remember when CBN gave them money?
Yes.
Okay, for them to turn their things around and all. Sometimes we still have darkness.
How do we woo investors into the power sector? What are those things that should be on ground to woo these investors into the sector?
I think when investors know that we are very serious, when we are determined.
Yeah.
Now, what are those things we need to put on ground to show our seriousness?
See, honestly, the truth of the matter is that we need to show that we are very transparent. We need to show that we are ready to give contracts to those who are competent. I say this, you know why I'm saying this? Obasanjo earmarked $16 billion dollars for integrated. That's 1.2 trillion naira by the exchange rate of that time. 360.7 billion had been spent out of it, but nothing came out of it. He mentioned 7.5 billion Personally, I don't have problem with committing money, necessary funds into it, but I have problem with how things are done. We unbundled the power sector, the distribution and the generation.
Exactly.
There are so many problems with generation. So many problems with generation. Sometimes, you see, the only thing we need to deal with, gas issue. Yes, we have abundance of gas.
Yes.
You have vandalism issues. Then, at the point of transmission, you have problem.
Yeah.
The discos, they are the greatest problems because they don't even have the infrastructure to support.
Exactly.
And if Nigeria is even generating as excess megawatts, do we even have the infrastructure to support it? So we must. It's a hydra-headed. It's hydra-headed.
The EFCC came out on the show yesterday. We talked about it, where the EFCC said substandard equipments.
So you need money to do. But my issue is that we must be ready to be transparent, must be determined, must be focused. Government can't do this alone, obviously. Of course, just like the power minister said, bring in people or organizations or companies that are very, as far as I'm concerned, I do not think that most of these discos are actually competent, that they were actually ready for it. I've been
No, they don't sow the
licenses. To me, it's like selling to cronies. And that's the accusation. And that allegation has a lot, that's credibility. It's a credible allegation. It's valid. It's a valid allegation because they've not been able to do. For me, I do not see the difference between these discos and the old NEPA. If I don't, they're even better.
I still say up NEPA.
Up NEPA.
Up NEPA. I don't see any difference. You understand? If we can get the telecommunication sector right, I mean, remember the time of Nitel, of course, Nitel couldn't do it.
Exactly.
You brought in the telcos, and if Nitel could not even compete, they also had their own, they had MTEL.
Yes,
but they couldn't compete.
Exactly.
They couldn't compete, So if we've gotten telecommunications right, the power sector is very, very important because nothing much can go. See, we'll continue to be a mediocre nation. We continue to be a mediocre nation. We continue to be a nation that is gasping for breath, or a nation that is being administered oxygen. If we don't get the power right, let us also think of other means of generating power.
I was about to
apart from using the water and gas.
South Africa uses coal.
Exactly.
Hydro. Some countries also use hydro. We have coal in Enugu. Hydro.
Solar.
In the north.
In the north.
Why would
and then, you see, a lot depends too much on the federal government.
They've even decentralized.
I know they've decentralized. But we have not seen the states, the subnationals.
I know Gombe, for instance, signed a deal with a Chinese company for solar.
Enugu as well.
For solar. Enugu as well. So, but what we should be looking at is these subnationals.
Yes.
Using what the natural resources that they have for them to generate power. Okay. So if, for instance, is in the north, sun, we have sun. Go for solar. Don't depend on gas turbine, for instance, or water. So we need to start looking at ways for us to generate electricity and having mini grids.
So the political
everywhere
to be there.
The political will needs to be
there. That's why I asked.
We need to find a way to encourage the subnationals to actually use the resources. See, there's an abundance of resources this country has being wasted. For example, Ondo State has the second largest deposit of bitumen in the world. You understand? Has the second largest after Venezuela. What is it being used? It's untapped, largely untapped. So states have to. It's not all these things we are doing, just contesting for elections and controlling the local government. Organizing sham local government elections. That's what we are good at. We should be very purposeful in making this country better.
I understand.
In every context.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Asukwa James, I appreciate you as always.
Thank you so much for having me.
Paul Dada, appreciate you as always. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Sure. And that's it on Journalist Hangout today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program.